It's finally here. Bethesda's first new IP in centuries.
It just works.
First conceptualized in 3000 BC, Todd and the team have finally done it. Skyrim Field. Or should I say, Menu Field. More commonly known as Loading Screen Field. Seriously, what the f*** is this? Now, rather than take my time enjoying this once-in-a-lifetime gaming experience, I have chosen instead to subject myself to 45 plus hours of horrific, mind-numbingly boring gameplay for the sake of answering one question. Can you beat Starfield with only your fists? Our story begins in the year 4E201 in the snowy Nordic mountains of Tamriel. Wait, nope, sorry, wrong game. We're starting off this time in Iraq. Let's get into it. Right out of the gate, I did what any rational human being would do. Subject myself to the wonders of the creation engine. No. A true masterpiece. Now I should note, to beat Starfield, there are exceptions that must be made to our weapon restrictions in certain scenarios. For me to complete the run, I'll allow myself to use the laser cutter on materials and other necessities, as well as my ship's guns. Otherwise, I'll be unable to complete the game. With that out of the way, it's back to my mission. So I mined some rocks, adjusted my sensitivity for the 3000th time, and had one hell of a space trip. Now it was time to create a disgusting abomination that would serve as our protagonist. After much experimentation, I sculpted the most terrifying unarmed beast I could think of. The male version of Stephanie from Lazytown. For my background, I picked exactly what an unarmed gremlin would be, a bouncer. For traits, as I'm brand new to the game, I wasn't too sure. I ended up settling on Dream Home, Kid Stuff, and of course, Hero Worshipped, as I'm quite the fan of the adoring fan. Our creation was complete. I, Sir Gregeth Stephanie III, first of his name, would save the universe. After getting my bearings, me and my boss headed outside to sell our newly acquired tab of space acid. For some strange reason, a man named Barrett took great interest in our stash. However, our trade deal was unfortunately interrupted by Somalian space pirates. Here marked the start of our 45-plus hour fisting journey. After fisting my way through an entire pirate armada, Barrett decided, for some strange reason, that because of my sensational space-like acid trip, he would give me his entire ship, Codsworth, and a quest to enlist myself in the group known as Constellation. I was rather baffled. However, I had no desire to sit idle on a rock for the rest of my days. So I packed up my things, told Lynn to go f*** herself, and headed out. But before we could travel to Constellation's headquarters, I would first have to take out the local space pirate captain on the nearby moon of Crete. So me and wannabe Codsworth set off, and after landing on barren planet 347, snuck ourselves inside the pirates' makeshift base. Now, originally, I imagined myself as an unarmed ninja, capable of disposing my foes with one gentle fist. However, I would soon learn that stealth was a complete nightmare for any melee enthusiast, particularly when dealing with Bethesda's companion AI.
I'm joking! Stop!
But I made it through, and met up with this jolly fellow, who I somehow managed to convince that the ship they had been tailing for days was in fact completely worthless. Now, after this, I could have been on my merry way. However, my fists were calling for blood. I could feel their hunger throbbing through my veins. I knew what I had to do. I smashed my way through Brolin and both his sidekicks. Except, much to my annoyance, Brolin's body decided to quite literally disappear into the sky, leaving me with zero loot and severe blue balls.
Nice.
So I reloaded my save, fisted my way through these fine gentlemen once more, and headed to our next objective, the city of New Atlantis. I must say, Todd had really outdone himself with this metropolis. Skyrim Field might have a lot of problems, but New Atlantis certainly isn't one of them. I decided to soak in the beauty, quite literally, and parkoured my way up a tree, breaking both my legs on the way down. Now it was time to meet Constellation inside their HQ, known as the Lodge. This place was nice, and not just the building itself. Hello, Sarah. After some talking and flirtatious behavior, the squad realized that my tab of space acid was in fact part of a set. That's right, somewhere out there in the vastness of space were more of these trip-inducing artifacts. So, as leader of Constellation, Sarah told me, a stranger with zero space experience, that I was now on for the ride. Our first mission was to find out the location of another artifact. But before I would do that, I spent my next skill point going for more unarmed damage, and checked out my brand new bedroom. Noel, where is this room? Oh, wait, it must be in here. Bitch, what the f... According to Sarah, we might be able to get information about an artifact from someone at the UC headquarters just down the road. So off we scooted, waltzing down the streets of New Atlantis like the manliest pink princess in town. According to Tuala at the UC headquarters, a Vanguard volunteer by the name of Muara might be able to help us with finding the next artifact. Location of this individual? The Solar System, aka Mars. Since I was already here, I figured I'd see what the UC Vanguard had to offer, and signed up. What transpired was a 30-minute history lesson and infuriating space combat, but I passed, and took my oath. Now I was level 3, and could finally unlock the ability to use boost packs, an absolute essential for any Starfield playthrough. Since I was still in New Atlantis, I also decided to check out the two beautiful beings that had spawned the disgusting abomination that was me, Mum and Dad. Much to my sadness, you unfortunately can't kill your own parents. Seriously, Bethesda, where is the player freedom? Following this, I headed outside, only to have a near heart attack as my #1 fan barged out of thin air begging to join me. By Azura, by Azura, by Azura! I could not say no, so I happily took him in, while also convincing him to give me all his money like the good mentor I was. Now I think that's probably enough sidetracking. Now it's time to get back to the main quest, heading to the city of Sidonia on Mars. So, after landing on another barren rock, I'm really beginning to see a pattern with these planets now, I hopped inside, only to spend the next 30 plus minutes getting lost, because where are the local maps? Todd and the team decided that instead of including a feature apparent in all their previous games, they would throw it entirely out the window. But no matter, I'm an elite gamer, and so I found a man by the name of Jack, who, despite being a total anus, eventually told us about Muara's whereabouts, or at least his presumed whereabouts. Apparently, the fool was somewhere on Venus. Great, only an entire planet. Should be no biggie, right? Luckily for us, a satellite beacon that could identify where our target's last location was in our vicinity, meaning Venus wasn't necessary. After sneaking up to the beacon, we discovered that Muara had headed to the Nova Galactic Star Yard for emergency repairs. So it was back to the menus and dozens of loading screens. But we had made it, or at least slammed right into it. Seriously, how do you dock something? Yes, my piloting skills were in serious need of work, but also Starfield's tutorials, as I had absolutely no idea all you had to do was scan it and press R. This place was not in prime condition. Bodies littered the floor, trash everywhere. Sarah and I weren't in friendly territory. After fisting my way through more pirates, and watching my wife float through solid concrete, we eventually discovered that Muara had headed to Neptune. Jesus Christ, this quest was getting a bit on my nerves. However, Todd had blessed our mission once more, as instead of being on Neptune and spending the next decade of my life searching for this imbecile, Muara was conveniently right in front of us, hijacked by filthy mercs. So I slammed my rock-hard 3,000-ton spacecraft right into them and boarded their ship. You can probably guess the next part. For saving his life, he gave us our first new artifact. Except instead of picking it up, I completely forgot about it, and then spent the next 10 minutes trying to figure out what I was supposed to do. I even undocked my ship, then had to redock it, which of course in classic me fashion, resulted in me slamming my engines directly into Muara's. I miss Fallout. After grabbing the artifact, I headed back to the lodge. And who was there waiting for me? Mother and father. I couldn't believe it. These senile fools had decided to spoil my official initiation into Constellation. Unbelievable. I'm removing them from my will. So what was our next task? A whole lot, apparently. Starfield's main quest is one beefy boy, and I was already a bit lost. According to my quest log, I had 3 options. Back to Vectera, into the unknown, or the empty nest. I settled on the first one, which told me to search for Barrett, the absolute gem of a man who gave me everything he owned for finding a funky-looking piece of metal. Like the good boy I was, I set off to repay the debt, heading to where we started, the mine. I think at this point, Todd and the team wanted me to like Supervisor Lin, but I couldn't give a rat's ass about this woman, or any of these miners. It was literally like 5 minutes of gameplay that we spent together. Why would I care about any of these people? But I didn't really have a choice, so I set off on a rescue mission to the planet Kindi. Now, instead of having an epic journey of flight through space, I had the exhilarating experience of clicking through a menu and a loading screen. Exploration at its best. So we landed, mined some rocks, stared at some more rocks, jumped over some rocks, and found Hella sitting by, yes, more rocks. According to Hella, Barrett wasn't here. He'd been taken to some pirate outpost in the Bessel system. That meant getting back on the road and once more setting on some wild goose chase. After landing, I was introduced to how horrific the build I had chosen really was. I spent 10 plus minutes fighting a single enemy. I mean, seriously, look at this damage. Boy, was I missing a good old AR-15. Following on from this, I snuck inside the pirate base and found Barrett. Except, much to my surprise, he seemed to be having a lovely conversation with his kidnappers. I didn't understand, and neither did my fists. We both knew violence was the only option. So I tried getting the jump on them from up top, only for Bethesda's fantastic engine to put me straight into the dialogue camera with Barrett.
Hello there.
Now, being the kind person I am, I chose to do the right thing in a hostage situation. Beat everyone mercilessly to death. Disposing of my foes, Barrett and I got the hell out of there and headed back to the launch. After submerging my legs deep into solid concrete, I headed to our next objective, the Eye. Constellation were fortunate enough to have access to an entire star station that could track down more artifacts. I just had to pop by our good friend Vladimir to find them. Vlad told us of two locations, Piazzi 1 and Procyon 3?
Sorry, I don't speak Italian.
Yes, I'm probably butchering those names. First up, Piazzi 1. And to my delight, Barrett decided to save me from my single fisting session and join me on my journey. Having found myself on this hideous rock, I headed deeper underground and met the lovely-looking Andrea, another member of Constellation, turning our little band of two into a three. What ensued was fist after fist after fist, and another artifact for our collection. Next on the menu was the science facility of Procyon 3. At this point, the main story was basically just Oblivion Gates 2.0. Go to location, kill enemies, find artifact, kill myself. Nothing really to write home about. However, this was about to change, as now it was time for our next quest, into the unknown. According to Vlad, there was some funky anomaly going on at a different location on Procyon 3, which meant yes, it was back to where we just came from, except this time, right into the heart of the planet. Following our arrival, I experienced the hair-twisting, pain-inducing, ball-breaking gameplay that is stealth. My dreams of becoming the stealthy fisting ninja were shattered, and in many ways, so was I. Quite literally, as for some reason my armor decided to turn into a being of its own and freak the f*** out like some sort of demonic ooze. As we neared our objective, I began to feel the Nord inside of me. The soft hills, the snow, the ancient temple. Skyrim Field was really living up to its name. Here inside the stone structure, my fists and I connected with the space gods and were granted the power of the Dragonborn. I'm not even joking, it's basically just shouting from Skyrim. I should make note, by now we were level 9 and had got some serious upgrades to our fisting capabilities. So it was back to the lodge and time to show the gang how much better I was than all of them. It was here, however, that I seriously messed up. Or at least, in other words, wasted a good 10 hours chasing what's essentially a Radiant quest. You see, the mission Power from Beyond has a constellation icon, and therefore, like the genius I am, I thought it was part of the main story. In reality, I was looking at the old tab. This quest was nothing more than a misc objective, aka a goddamn Radiant quest. Now, if you played Skyrim or Fallout 4, you'll probably understand how much of a waste of time these are. Thankfully, it wasn't a total waste of time, as the more I did this, the more Dragonborn powers I got. By the time I realized my mistake, I was level 11 and seriously contemplating seppuku. I managed to get my crippling depression together and headed for our next objective, Akila City. To be frank, I'd completely forgotten why I was even here. The quest description didn't tell me anything, and by this point, all my brain could think about was how another settlement needs my help. Luckily, my newest companion Sam Coe filled me in on the details. Apparently, there was an artifact here, and the location could be found through acquiring maps created by his ancestor, Solomon Coe. The map's location? The bank, just down the road. Now, if there's one thing to say about Akila City, it's that it should be renamed to Jesus fucking Christ, my FPS. Despite me buying a new GPU specially for Starfield, the game ran like complete anus. So lagging my way into the front door, I was met with some troubling news. Turns out there was a hostage situation going on in the very bank we needed to access. Perfect, I thought. Sounds like a fantastic opportunity for Sir Gregor Stephanie III to show these plebeians what he's made of. Now, being the socially awkward pink-haired gremlin that I am, I completely failed to defuse the situation and had to brutally murder my way through every single robber. Thankfully, none of the hostages died. I have no idea how this was the case, as a man walking in with bare fists to stop bank robbers isn't prime savior material. Sadly, our success would end here, as the maps weren't in the safe. According to Sam, a man named Jacob took them, and of course, like the terrible friend he was, refused to give me any information as to who this man was. But it all became clear when we found him. Sam had some serious daddy issues. That's right, Jacob was Sam's father, and I now found myself in an extremely awkward family beef situation. We knew the maps had to be somewhere in here, so I got Sam to distract his papa while I looked around. The game told me quite literally that they were in this room behind a locked door, except in classic Starfield fashion, I had run out of digipics. And the best part? Not a single f***ing digipic in this entire house. And you know what? Not even a single digipic in Akila City.
Let me in! Let me in!
That's right, I spent the next hour looking through every single shop in this goddamn town to find a lockpick and got nothing. My situation was getting dire. So in desperation, I flew all the way back to New Atlantis, landed, discovered the beauty of Starfield's NPCs, and found some digipics. I couldn't believe it. I was saved. So I quickly hurried back to Akila, unlocked the door, and got the maps. Despite Sam's father standing literally right next to us, Sam decided to verbally express our entire plan and my recent theft. I will never bring this imbecile on another adventure again. Anyway, it was now onto the location of the artifact. And rather than having a magical journey venturing there, instead, I had the wonderful experience of going through a loading screen. So after punching, and even more punching, we got the artifact. I was beginning to feel a bit too much like a delivery boy. Thankfully, we now had the chance to experience some real change of scenery. Returning to the lodge, I was given my next location, the City of Neon. This time, our artifact wasn't in procedurally generated cave number 3452. It was in the hands of a seller, and we were the buyers. Walter Stroud would be the negotiator, and I would be the muscle. Now this was a real city. Our first destination was Stroud Corporate HQ, Walter's bougie business pad. So, after experiencing yet another awkward family social situation, I got my next objective, securing a room for our meeting with the seller in the infamous Astral Club Lounge. As a pretty pink princess, I felt right at home here. But guess who decided to spoil the moment again? Mum and Dad. To think I couldn't even escape my parents in a goddamn nightclub filled with drug addicts. But I couldn't allow myself to get distracted. I was on a mission. I had to focus. So, through the power of capitalism, I bribed the club security and purchased a VIP room for our future meeting. Once I'd met with Walter again, we headed back into the club, found the cellar, and got the artifact. Unfortunately for us, some sore loser by the name of Slayton had impounded our ship and put a bounty on our heads. So it was off to Slayton's HQ to try and talk some sense into him, or give him a good old fisting. What ensued was failure after failure after failure of stealth gameplay. I'm starting to think perhaps looking like a human flamingo wasn't the best choice for blending in. We eventually made it to Nikolaus Slayton, who, to my surprise, actually listened to my abysmal diplomatic skills. Everything would be chill between us, as long as we dealt with the thief who we got the artifact off of. Walter protested that we spare the man's life, and being the kind friend I was, told Walter to go f*** himself, and instantly beat him to death. However, after fisting one man, my body craved more. I could feel their hunger calling out to me. My fists wanted blood. And so I gave it to them. I beat the crap out of Slayton and all his men, which only took like 15 minutes. Jesus Christ, I do no damage! My fists and I had changed since our first days in the mine. We were no longer separate entities. We were one. A team. A unit capable of disposing any foe, even if it took like 5 minutes to kill one enemy. I knew an upgrade was in order. So I headed off to the best plastic surgeon in town, and threw away my skinny feminine bones, walking out as a new man. I was no longer Gregor Stephanie III, first of his name. I was now what peak Fallout narrative was, and always will be, Fisto. On our way back to the lodge, we encountered something extremely unusual. a ship of strange design belonging to a group known as the Starborn intercepted us, wanting our artifact. I couldn't believe my eyes. No, I'm just kidding. Of course I could. Seriously, it took this long for some strange, funky alien life form to show up in the main story? I'm only 20 hours in? Finally, Todd had given us something interesting. This is exactly what I wanted. So I told the ship I was blasting his ass into space dust, which I would have, except like the little alien rat he was, teleported instantly away on 1 HP. Back at the lodge, as expected, the entire group started freaking out like a pack of monkeys.
Oh my god! Okay, it's happening! Everybody stay calm!
I of course kept calm and cool like a pink flamingo, until Vlad once again set me off on another goddamn fetch quest.
No! God! No! God, please, no! 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 No!
Someone please give me Todd Howard's email. So after 2 more artifacts, and also spending about 2 hours getting the infamous Mantis gear and ship, I finally made it to another fetch quest. Except this time, it did have a bit more meat on the bones. Our task was, of course, to secure an artifact. However, this time, we would have to travel to the Scow, a salvager vessel led by a man named Captain Petrov. Sounds exciting, and so I eagerly scooted off to our next objective. Also, I kept running into this weird glitch where random UC female guards are walking around New Atlantis completely naked. Nice. Now, since I was extremely socially awkward, I completely failed to talk my way into peacefully boarding Petrov's ship. Instead, I blew their engines to pieces and waltzed on board. Somehow, though, to my complete disbelief, I managed to convince his main security force that I wasn't here to kill everyone. Unbelievable. The Fisto transformation was clearly doing wonders for me. I'll hand it to Todd and the team. This ship was cool. I could tell this place was going to be absolute chaos if I failed to convince Petrov to give me the artifact, which was obviously going to happen. So I bribed the high-quality mercenaries right in front of Petrov's face, telling the entire world our plan to kill everyone. However, in classic Bethesda fashion, not a soul reacted. While I couldn't convince Petrov to give me the artifact, he did agree to show it to me behind closed doors, and once he had sniffed out my plan, dared me to steal it, which of course I did, and proceeded to beat the crap out of him. He eventually gave up and told us we could walk away with it, but not without threatening us first. Ho no! Petrov had crossed the line. No one threatens this fisting machine. So of course, like the peaceful, gentle, kind soul I am, brutally killed every single person on board, and took Petrov's clothes as a victory souvenir. Now, right as I thought things were starting to look our way, the gang broke news that the Eye, the star station where Constellation had been locating the artifacts, had gone dark, and a mysterious individual called the Hunter was incoming. Barrett and Vlad, and whoever else was there, honestly I couldn't really care less, were in serious danger. So who to save? Barrett, Vlad, and I think Andrea? Or the only logical choice, Sarah. The remainder of us grabbed the artifacts and got the hell out of there. I tried fighting the Hunter, but quite literally did 0 damage, so quickly scooted off to my ship. We made it to the Eye to check on the dead, and Barrett,
That's it?
These Starborn were pathetic. Everybody else was totally fine. Once we'd got the gang back together, Matteo told us we should go to the Sanctum Universum, a group here on New Atlantis, and speak to their leader, Keeper Aquilus, specifically about a phrase the Hunter mentioned, unity, and what hidden meaning it might have. I also hit level 19, and should probably show you my perks since it's been a while. By this point, we'd made it deep into the physical tree, mainly focusing on all the unarmed skills, as well as a few extras. Anyway, back to our mission at hand. I met up with Keeper Aquilus, who told me of some bizarre story that I had absolutely no interest in, nor could I make any sense of what he was saying. All I did was follow the quest marker, and concluded that our next objective was Planet Indim 2. What followed was some brief detective work, another spaceflight to a different planet, and some funky magic beam. I am so confused. The Hunter once again intercepted us, but rather than kill us, invited us over for tea and biscuits. Of course, to the complete surprise of no one, the Hunter and another Starborn called the Emissary were in fact Barrett and Keeper Aquilus from other dimensions. Ah yes, I totally saw this coming.
What?
Yeah, I was rather lost. First playthrough blues sure are something. These 2 extraterrestrials, humanoids, demonic freaks, whatever they were, wanted me to investigate a research station on Earth's moon. So off I went, except this time with future wife Sarah. Oh yeah, and I should mention, I decided to download a few mods to spice up my Starfield experience. Specifically this fantastic flashlight mod that turns your flashlight into a face of Nicolas Cage. Chef's kiss. Our discoveries at the moon base led us to our next location, NASA on Old Earth. Also, you can't even hop into the starboard ship that lands right outside. I mean, come on! Sarah and I fought our way inside the old scientific base, and somehow, one of us got lodged in between a completely inaccessible corner. Nice work, Sarah. Also, this flashlight mod works with your companions. My god, what have I done? Fisting our way through more robots, we made it to the artifact, grabbed it, and got the hell out of there. Once outside, the emissary and the hunter finally spoke in a dialect my 10 IQ brain could understand. Earth was destroyed because of the artifacts. Humanity lost its home at the cost of intergalactic space travel. So who would I side with? The hunter and his giga-chad energy? Or the emissary and his obsession with protecting humanity from the artifacts? How about neither of them? I was sick of these Doctor Who wannabes, and told them, instead of siding with one of them, I would kill both of them. Except rather than fight to death here, they essentially put me on a waiting list like some sort of appointment. Ridiculous. They expected me to go and fetch 2 more artifacts, and then they'd let me kill them. What kind of transaction is this? To make matters worse, my game decided to throw out 90% of my screen after entering my inventory. Thanks, Todd. It was time to get back to another fetch quest, which you can probably already guess how it transpired. That was one down, now just one more to go. Except this time, things went a little different. Upon nearing the planet of Freya, we received an incoming distress signal from the Nashina research station nearby. But when knocking on their door, they told me no such signal existed. Something funky was going on. My worries would come to fruition only moments later, as when I walked down the hallway with the security guard, my surroundings completely changed. I was now in some different universe, but the exact same room, only this time filled with flesh-eating scorpions. I was transported back to reality and then back again to hell, where I met Raphael, the one responsible for the distress signal. He told me that because of some freak accident in his universe, everybody was dead. Sucks for him, as only seconds later, I was back again in my universe. We finally made it to the person in charge of this facility, Director Patel, who I told had to get their crap together. Or in Bethesda's language, me saying yes to fixing all their problems. So, after numerous back and forths, I finally got my hands on a device that would allow me to enter between the 2 universes when going through these funky-looking sparkly things. Now it was time to fix things. Our mission? Get to the lab underground and put a stop to the experiment that was causing this. Fighting my way through an armada of alien cockroaches, I made it deep inside the lab and finally found the room where I could stop all this. Here the player must choose which universe to save. Or, if you're like me, and googled the best outcome of the quest, know that you can in fact save everybody. Which I did, because this pink princess is the best. For my reward, I got a fat stack of credits and our final artifact. Finally, the time had come to challenge the hunter and the emissary to a fight to the death. The lead up to this battle was an insane number of bullet spongy enemies, or should I say fisting spongy enemies, and much to my annoyance, this carried over into the final boss battle. This took me, and I'm not even exaggerating, almost an hour, as I quite literally did no damage. Earlier in the run, I discovered that through stunning an enemy with my fists, I could get extra sneak bonus damage if I crouched, despite not actually being in stealth. However, against the Starborn, the game refused to give me any chance of sneaking. I was forced to manually beat my way through each and every one of them, doing a total of almost 0 damage with every swing. But you know the result. Fisto always wins. An hour of fisting and 50 medpacks later, I had done it. The battle had ended, and the run was finally over. It took me only nearly 50 hours to do nothing but the main story. Time well spent. Now if you'll excuse me, I've got some Baldur's Gate 3 to play. If you've made it this far, bless your soul for sticking with me through my abysmal first Starfield challenge run. Consider sacrificing a like, comment, and even a subscribe to the algorithm gods. And until next time, farewell.